He's up late to give you the news you can't get anywhere else early. He fights for truth and justice in the American way. Please welcome our pal from the Paragon Trust Company, the real Tony D. Tony D'Angelo.
All right, so we are so very lucky each and every Tuesday at the same time we bring on the one and only Tony D'Angelo. You can find him on the Twitter or the X now. It's Tony D'Angelo 7. Of course, on Thursdays, he releases a brand new video up on the YouTube, so you can take a look at that. And again, joining us now is Tony D'Angelo. Tony, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Lee Elci, and good morning, everybody. I'm proud to be among you.
Well, proud that you're with us and lucky that you're with us.
Thank you.
You're going to start with your congressional representatives? Is that the deal today?
I am, and, I've kind of entered into a zone here. We've got, 7 days, not even, to filing deadline, and I'm getting into that thing where I've just had it with, dealing with really the butt end of all the political and bureaucratic incompetence and mess-ups that we've been, almost dealing with on a daily basis. And apropos of all of that, something has dawned on me recently, like the cartoons, the bolt from the blue, bang, hit my head, about the price we all pay when an elected official and or his assistants are functionally incompetent and or unable to execute and are spending their time on stupid stuff like, can men have babies? But I want to take us back to January. And you had actually asked me about this and to read this out on the air, which I did. This would be Notice 2024-17, January 22nd. Long story, really short. Taxpayers in New Haven County have until June to make the April deadline on various things. Again, consult your advisor, see if that applies to you. And the declaration was for New London County, the Mohegan Tribal Nation, and the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation. And it's for filing and payment relief. Now, we went through that here, and this is all under something known as the Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act that was passed by the 100th Congress, if anybody is keeping score. And as far as that goes, let's get into the mechanics of how something like that works. Basically, you have a need in an area, and the reason for that in New London County was, weather issues and a potential dam bust. So, it'll be somebody calling up a congressional office. In this case, a lot of things come in from practitioners like me. Hey, I'm seeing clients; they have issues. Could somebody actually give this some attention? And the way that thing goes by procedure, it goes from, you have a federal matter, you go to Congress. That's what Congress is for. Congress would do something known as a letter of support. That is a term of art, for or telling our governor, because it has to come from the governor to FEMA, in our case, King Governor Ned Lamont the Unaccountable, and say, hey, there's an issue here. Would you kindly look into it and or cause some relief? Now, again, I'm sitting in Windham County. I'm 20 miles from people who have and my clients are 20 miles from people who have a statutorily declared disaster delay. And this is all from, it's all in a cookbook. It's the Congressional Primer on Responding to and Recovering from Major Disasters and Emergencies, last updated June 12, 2023. So, this is like follow the footsteps. It's all somebody has to do is follow it. Now, life bears on. Here I am, upstate office, dealing with the winter from hell, branches, wires, bad internet. Clients can't work, clients can't make money. And, I'm thinking, so one day it dawns on me, why can't we have this same request that somebody can have for 20 miles south of me? And, Connecticut's not all that big a state, regardless of what it thinks. So on March 24th, 2024, I made a formal request to Congressman Joe Courtney's office. Got 3 weeks in the deadline. They made it dirt simple. I took the freaking federal pronouncement that we talked about at the top of this conversation. I say, here it is. Do that. Would you kindly make a request to extend to Windham? And, of course, time is of the essence. Now, fast forward to April 3rd. That was last Wednesday. I get up. There's branches all over the place. The internet's not working. It's like, it's sort of like I stepped out of the Twilight Zone. And I'm thinking, what the hell are these people doing? And, of course, they're not responding to me. So at this point, it's like it's time to go to Twitter. And I tweeted, this would be April 4th, Congressman Courtney, is there anybody with a pulse in your office? Several weeks back, I requested the disaster pronouncement be extended to Windham County. Now we're 10 days from the deadline. Not one person from your office has bothered to contact me as a constituent asking a serious question. You know, there's 50,000 taxpayers in this county. Your constituents may be unduly penalized by the IRS based on your inability to execute. God help us all if we had a serious issue of critical mass in this, region. Now, we still have a faint pulse here. We got a few days. And then my tweet starts going around Twitter. And guess what? 8 hours later, we hear from the esteemed congressman. And it's a classic answering machine response. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Please call our Norwich office between 9 a.m. 5 p.m. Monday through Friday at number, and our staff will be ready to assist you. Lee Elci, at this point, I don't know whether to laugh, cry, scream, or throw up. So I responded to the congressman. Rep. Joe Courtney, unfortunately, your response places me at a loss. It says either one of two things, being one, your office staff is clearly incapable of following a clearly written IRS pronouncement with respect to disaster relief, or I would need to call your staff and read to them ostensibly slowly what has been before them for 2 weeks in a very clear FEMA directive. Neither of these things speaks well of you. Okay, time to get the show in, right? And here I am. And it's like, so I did the show announcement yesterday, started kicking around Twitter, and had a conversation with the chief of staff of Joe Courtney's office, who essentially told me, well, this is the governor's deal. We can't do anything. And what I did is I read the cookbook to her on page 31. Consider a letter of support for the governor chief executive's request for a Stafford Act declaration by framing the problems confronted the affected jurisdiction. In other words, Congress, do your freaking job. And it's like, and to deny that is to deny the existence of having Congress itself. So the only thing I'm telling you, if you're driving in a car, we have a large listenership. God bless these people. God bless the show. If you're driving in a car somewhere in Windham County, you have something to do in Windham County, you can't make the tax deadline. 60 days to you would have been a godsend, would have been something to really make your world a whole lot better. This request was made to Congressman Courtney's office, and they dropped the freaking ball. Nothing drives a practitioner crazy, especially somebody like me, who has had requests for Congress for 30, 40 years, and people don't act on it. So I'm sorry for venting my spleen. I'm sorry for telling you what life is like here for me, but I am so tired of these freaking politicians doing stupid stuff. Meanwhile, people suffer. Excuse my bad behavior. Your ball, my friend.
Do you think has anything to do with your political affiliation? Do you think if you were a card-carrying lib, you would have gotten some kind of a response?
I don't know. I mean, put it this way. It's like, are you, and these are the things, listen, I'm going to lay it all out there. And when you do something and when you see something not acting, the things that go through at least my head, are you incompetent, are you stupid, or are you hateful? To your point, are they hateful? I don't think they quite got to hateful. I think it's more of a thing of, as you move farther down the district, it's more urban, it's more tied to what he's doing. And when you get past the line of Plainfield, maybe going up to the state line where Windham County is, it's mostly people who really, most of them aren't really like his cup of tea, basically. So, you have all these people who are like, they have business, they're homeowners, they're small business owners, they're scraping by, they're trying to make their own living. And, I don't think he focused on it, but yet the fact that he did not focus on it does not excuse him of the fact that he should not have focused on it, especially when you had somebody that told him not once, not twice, but 3 times.
No, I get that. I'm very skeptical nowadays, TD, because of all the partisanness, right? So I'd like to know what would happen if someone on a card-carrying member of the other side came out and had something similar to ask, or some request of Joe Courtney, how fast his office would act on it. I'm not saying I'm not necessarily accusing him. I just feel like, in this world, with the hypersensitive, you're on social media, you've got a lot of followers, you're on the air every week, you don't pull any punches if, in fact, anything was tied together.
Possibly. And I think to your point, it does come down to, if you are not my kind of person, I will not service you. I had this discussion, actually, with somebody, because I was discussing it with them, and they said, different world, different time. What was the best experience you ever had in, quote unquote, getting Congress to act on behalf of the client? I said, well, hands down, it was Senator Bill Bradley in New Jersey. I had a Vietnam vet. It was the saddest story in the whole world. I mean, man, the Irish kid, he was part of that unit that fought in the Mel Gibson movie, We Were Soldiers Once and Young, came to Wall Street, busted his head open, became Goldman Sachs partner, and like everything, the financial collapse of the 80s and the Agent Orange and all that, like ton of bricks. It was terrible. And he was begging for assistance for his disability, and he kept going before the VA and saying, would you kindly help me? My family is going to be starving. Now, that's a big come up to a big come down. And, I was desperate. His widow would be before me, lovely young lady, and she'd be crying in front of me, can you do anything? So there in New Jersey, I called up, Senator Bradley's office, and I said, this is the situation. They were magnificent, because what they did, they didn't ask me what my political pedigree was. They took his request and brought it to the VA, and it was the first instance of service-connected disability for Agent Orange in the VA. Thank God I was there to, be a spectator in the room when it happened. But I think, we are coming into this world, I think, to your point, Lee Elci, where if we're not politically aligned with somebody, so I don't have to service him, he's from another party. And I mean, we're talking like public safety, we're talking like just basic means of getting things done. And you may think, people are listening to this and they're thinking, well, big deal, it's like pay your taxes. But it's like, hey, wait a minute, it's like people 20 miles down the road from me are getting a break, and people where I am aren't. And like, we ain't talking, and the weather issues here have been probably worse than New London County. It's like, I think to your point, it proves your point. Go figure.
I think, right, and I got to say this, doing this as long as I've done this, and I'm not calling, well, I guess I am calling out some folks in particular, but it seems to happen more on the other side of the aisle, because I can give you a case in point of a number of legislators who don't care what your, what letter goes beside your name. Greg Howard comes to mind. Some others come to mind. Mike France comes to mind on that they'll go out of their way to help somebody who's just in need. Doesn't matter. I think, though, it's amplified now for you, Tony. I hate to say this. It's amplified now for you because you're not just a regular Republican. You're now an outspoken Republican. You now have a little bit of juice.
And I'm not even Republican,
but you know what I mean. But you've got now power. You've got some influence. You've got so they're like, why should I help out him? I mean, he doesn't help out me. He's not. He's going to say something negative about me. I think I'm going to hopefully. Things are somewhat the same where if someone just calls up the office of Joe Courtney, they don't go and check to see who he voted for or she voted for. I hope that's the case, but I'm not sure anymore.
Well, I would agree with you, but basically I think we're hitting that point now as we're discussing this, that it's no longer an issue of like if there is a need, did these people help us in the past? Well, really, it's your job when it comes down to the basics. So I've had all these things over 40 years, a misplaced Social Security check, a veteran's benefit not delivered, a burial benefit and things like that. And to your point, the best service I have had locally, and I'm not talking politically because politically I think this woman is batso, but Rosa DeLaura's office, and she had a group of senior aides. Most of them, I understand now, have retired, and the people that are there now are like more of the woke, I'll do this if I like you generation. But I had like people on hot buttons, and this is the biggest reason why Rosa was so beloved in New Haven, because she got the job done as far as delivering the bacon. The people working in her office couldn't stand her. But they did what they needed to do, and it's just the thing of what is Congress? I mean, Congress is supposed to represent people, right? And people have needs. This is why we send people to Congress, and this is my discussion with Congressman Courtney's chief of staff. And like what you're saying is, you're effectively in telling me I have to go to the governor to tell him that what he needs to do. And it's like, hey, Ned Lamont, it's Tony D'Angelo.
Right.
We have this issue here.
Well, I could say
it's so ridiculous. It's nuts.
I could say this about Joe. So I had a great relationship with Joe Courtney in the infancy of my talk radio broadcast. When he first became a congressman, he'd come on almost every week, Tony. And in fact, he cited this very show, in Congress in a speech he gave. He talked about something that was going on in the area from the Lee Elci show, blah, blah, blah. I had that kind of relationship with him. I could pick up the phone, call him. But somewhere along the line, either I said something he didn't like, or somebody said, this isn't doing anything for you. All his, half of his listeners aren't going to vote for you anyway, blah, blah, blah. And sort of just cut us out of the picture. Now, I don't know if that's a political move. I'm sure it has to be, right? I mean, I can't see any other way around it, but it's disappointing because, in this district, there's still constituents of his district. District 2 is right here. He should come on once a month. I would open that up, but I guess he just doesn't want to anymore.
Well, and how could I put it? I do my best to call balls and strikes. I've gotten on Republicans, I've gotten on Democrats, a lot more on Democrats because they're a lot more deserving. But it's like, I guess in my naivete or frustrated mindset, when does government get back to actually doing the functions of government, protecting the borders, making sure people are safe, being proactive rather than reactive, explaining to me procedures incorrectly where they themselves, know what the procedure is, or if they don't, it's gotten to be so inanely ridiculous. And I think all of this speaks to, do we really have the integrity of a country that functions like a country for the benefit of its people?
Tony, good stuff. We're out of time. Tony D'Angelo 7. You can find him on the Twitter. What do you think is going to be this Thursday's release? What topic?
We're going to be, you got to be there for that. It's going to be shaky shacks. I'm going to tell you things about this whole housing and transit-oriented development thing that when you heretofore undisclosed, when you find out about them, you're going to be livid as I am. So please don't miss it.
All right, my friend. Thank you, Tony. Great stuff as always. Tony D'Angelo. We'll come right back, everybody. Bruce Flax has arrived a little later on. The Ebony Chief and Coach Leo here in the studio. We can talk about anything and everything. That's all coming up.